to order. The first item on the agenda is the organization of the board.
Do we want to hit the team's explanation or no?
There's nobody here to see it.
Yeah, perfect. I nominate John Klug to be chair.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. At this point, I think do we want to parcel out our committee assignments?
Yes, you do.
This is a tough decision.
I'm gonna let you guys pick and I'll take whatever.
Who's chairing the budget committee this year?
Well, that will be the choice of that's TBD.
Mhm.
I guess what I'd say is, one, I think that, I've been on the budget committee and the planning board for the last few years, so this is to some extent an opportunity for me to learn something new in town.
Or do something you're good at, you know? Who knows?
That is also, an opportunity,
Well-
but I guess what I'm saying is, I'm up for anything. As far as, my personal preferences, I think, I actually think the budget committee is in good hands based on just, where people have talked. I think the planning board has always been, so I'm comfortable with anything. I don't have any concerns.
I'll go with budget again.
Does Heritage require a member?
Yes.
So
It
here's
does.
an issue. Are they willing to meet at a reasonable hour for working people?
Oh, I don't know.
Because there's no way I can leave work until that early in the day, right? Like maybe sneak out at 4, but not, like 2 o'clock or something or whatever.
Yeah, they meet at 4:30.
Oh, they meet at 4:30?
Yeah, it's the Mascoma Lakeside Park that meets at 3:30.
Okay, because I was like, some of these meetings end up really early and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot do that.
So when is
Yeah, they meet
Heritage,
later.
when is the Heritage Commission's regular meeting?
It's the 4th Thursday of the month at 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a possibility. I don't know if you're interested in staying on planning, Eric.
I'm fine with either. Like I said, I mean, it is an
Okay, let me-
opportunity to
Yeah.
learn something new. I'm happy to go to Heritage if you want to stay on the planning board.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Either way. So you'll take Heritage and.
Sure.
Perfect. Down planning for a bit. I know the village association, so their bylaws say we have to have someone, they are working on their bylaws, and doing some work. Is my understanding. I don't mind being a liaison for them, and I kind of just appear, and I also am one of the moderators for their Facebook page and a couple other things, so I volunteer in a few of their committees, so if somebody else wants to do it, that's fine, if not, I'll continue, because it's optional.
As I look through, I mean, I live in the village. If you want to continue doing it, that's absolutely fine.
Well, if you
But I'd
want to, if you want
But
to
I'd be
do,
happy to be a liaison.
I think that
with
makes
them.
sense, and then I can just help them ad hoc on committees.
But I'm
Perfect.
not going to take over like their Facebook page.
Well, so they have a full-time person now who does it.
Okay,
It
I'm
stopped
just-
being all me, which
Yeah,
was fantastic.
but
She's
I'm-
much more qualified.
And keep in mind, there's no RSA that says
Right,
we have to
right,
No, but I
be
think
there.
they,
Yeah, no,
the
It's
economic
just their
development.
preference.
right.
I think we need to talk about the future of how we're gonna handle economic development in Enfield, and that's probably where we're gonna want, even if it's Ed or won't volunteer any of our employees' names, but.
And we can talk about it, because
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna be involved.
Mhm.
Me and Rob as the community development director, we're gonna be jumping into economic development if we have.
I think the time has come to really
Yep.
push that forward.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I plan on
We have
working on
no
like the
problem
project.
working hand in hand with Eva,
Okay.
because there's some things a nonprofit organization like that can do that we cannot do.
Yeah.
So,
And I'd like to work on things like hometown holidays, which is really not a board type thing. It's really more of our personal interest. So I think Eric, you take it and I will.
Okay, we do have a couple of committees that had Meredith serving as a selectman's rep, but they don't require one, like Mascoma Lakeside Park and Old Home Days. She just happened to also be a selectman, and she was doing that. So if anybody wants to, but it's not at all required.
I know. If they need something from us, they can certainly ask your office and we can.
Yeah, Lakeside
Absolutely.
Park, just so you guys know, we now have, Rob Taylor's going to those meetings. I
Perfect.
have Liam going to those meetings because he's the project manager, and then I've been attending them.
That's great.
Right, and really it's the fun, and the fundraising and kind of commitment to whatever grant requirements we have faced, right?
Yeah, they're working on that, and we're starting to work on, they've had some design plans, but we're really pushing forward on, what are the recommendations for final design?
Great.
And we'll be doing that, and I'll give you guys, there was some stuff in your packet, but I'll give you a little bit of update of what we've been working on.
Are there other committees that require select board attendance?
Nope.
There we go.
I did wonder if we shouldn't give CIP some attention somehow.
I had that written down, that I thought CIP would be good. It's not required, but it would be good to have someone from the select board on them.
I can do that since I'm not gonna be going to the EVA meetings unless.
You
someone
sure?
wants to. Yeah, I mean, they have a relatively short set period of time and I've done it before. I kind of am familiar with how the plan works and most of the elements. Yeah, I know some of the projects that have been moving in.
Yeah. And just so you know, I am gonna move that up in the calendar year, so CIP's done prior to the budget starting.
I love that.
Good idea. It is. Okay. I think we can move on to the next item on the agenda, board reports. No, approval of the minutes, excuse me. I've taken a quick look at them. They look good to me.
I didn't have any issues with them.
You want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the minutes as printed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes have been approved. Now we have board report. I have nothing to report.
I was not able to go to the last planning board session, so I don't have anything to report, but Eric, were you in the last one by any chance?
Yeah, so the last one was largely, sort of outlining the upcoming, sort of finalization of the master plan, where they're gonna take a couple of weeks and have the plan, the draft go into a final draft and then organize a final sort of community listening session, / education session, before ideally having it to the planning board in, say, September, early fall, for approval by the planning board. Is sort of their schedule at this point for that.
Great.
And I guess I have one question which would fall here, which is just for the budget committee. Historically, the chair called the first meeting, which I'm happy to do, even though I'm no longer on the budget committee. Is that still the right process? Because we don't have a select board meeting that night either. So do we need to do anything else, or, because I was gonna call it relatively soon so that they can get organized and transition me out and figure out, they have to select a new member.
Should we
take my
move to
place.
having the town manager's office kick off the calendarings of initial meetings? Because you could open, you were one of the representatives, could open it because you would have to elect a chair, right?
Yeah, I think either way, as long as no official motions are being
Mhm.
made to start, anybody can really start the meeting, and then first order of business needs to be to elect a chair, and then they can go from there. So either way, I can do it. If you want to call the meeting, let me know.
I'll
can try to
coordinate
be
with you
there.
on that. I just want to make sure we got the process
I
right.
was gonna say John could do it too as the representative to their budget committee.
I'm gonna
We'll
defer to
organize
Eric.
We'll get it done, so.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, that's it for board reports. Town managers report.
Yeah, okay, so thank you. Wanted to give a staff report. I've been doing that a little bit more often, but wanted to announce to the select board, I think we talked about it a few meetings ago, that we promoted someone within the DPW to the light equipment operator position. So we had promoted Matt Dickinson from grounds maintenance to the light equipment operator with the contingency that he had 6 months to complete his CDLB. I am happy to announce that Matt Dickinson passed his CDLB test on Thursday, April 14th. This completed his certification needs for the light equipment operator position. He was promoted in March by us, and so it was good that he did that. He took initiative, and we took I don't want to say we took a chance. He took a chance. We told him what he needed to do, and so it was good to see him get that, and I just wanted to recognize him for his hard work in getting that done so quickly. Wanted to let the board know, with the recent events with Diane, that we are currently looking for an administrative assistance and human services coordinator. So we put the job ad out, and we've been collecting resumes, and we'll be soon interviewing for that position. We've had quite a few people apply, so
Really?
I think we'll have a good chance of filling that position shortly. We continue to search for a full-time recreation director. We hosted a few interviews last week. I am looking at someone. We'll be talking a little bit more this week, but it's pretty hopeful that we're possibly gonna have someone in position by June of this year. And then I've started writing the job description for the facilities position that we've added, so we can move that along and get that out for applications as well. So we can get on top of the maintenance that we do have on these buildings sooner than later. Give you a little update. A few meetings ago, you guys approved, and it's in the packet today too, to exchange a deed on 32 Johnson Street for abatement of those property taxes. We have received that deed fully signed, and we've recorded it. So that property has transitioned. It's in our possession now.
Mhm.
It's
So we
been
own
changed in our
2 lots
system.
fully.
We own the
Not
lots
leased.
down there. There's one more lease down there. If you know the property, it's on the other side of the river
Mhm.
that's down there. So from the river all the way across to the point is town property. So I've been working with Rob. I did take Liam down there to look at the buildings, and we're in the process of putting some options together that we will bring back to the select board in the future for future use of that property.
There was a concern raised when the first lease was turned over about vagrancy and, trespassing, and I don't know if that ever became a problem. But I just wanted to raise that concern was brought up before, and I think the police were gonna check on it from time to time, and I don't know what else came of it.
I don't know if they check on it. We did go down there. We walked
It
around.
was fine.
There's one like camper down there that the door was open, but all the other structures were sealed and locked.
Great.
So it doesn't look like, if there has been some vagrancy, it doesn't look like a major issue.
Okay, I think it was the butters that were concerned, so
Yeah.
certainly. Thank you.
I think they keep their eye on that property pretty well as well.
They'd like that property.
Some of them would, yes. Just a little update on the bond articles that passed on Saturday. We've already started working today, and well, we were working before that, but I contacted USDA today to talk about, they have a facilities grant and loan process and application. So I was on the phone with USDA today, talking through their process and how it affected if we went to bond sale in June. It was like I thought, if we go to bond, if we bond in June, then we're not eligible for the loan or the grants in that application. He said that may or may not be worthwhile for us to put in, but I'm gonna be scheduling a meeting with the bond council, the bond people, and USDA. He said they do that often, and they'll talk through the pluses and minuses and help us determine what the best route on that is. Elisa has also contacted Mascoma Bank, and we've had some discussions with them. If we just went with a straight conventional loan through them, the rates are not that bad right now. So we do have a few options that I wanted to let you know that we're working on that. I also received a call from our representatives in the State House that are already working on this as well, and they've contacted some of our federal delegation, and we'll be working hand in hand together to see what we can do to get as much money as we can. So, with the rebranding, we've had one rebranding logo committee meeting. It was a good meeting. We spent a lot of that meeting talking about the use of a town logo and where it would be used and why it would be useful or not. And it was a good discussion back and forth. And then we did a brainstorming exercise just to get ideas about what represents and failed both in the past and the present. And so it was a good discussion. We put that list together and we'll be meeting again this Thursday to continue that effort. One last thing, the fiber optic lease. I don't know how much Jack talked to you about that, but with our fiber optics here in the building with First Light, we had extremely slow internet in this building. So I did contact First Light. I had a meeting with them last week. I had asked them to provide us 1 gig of internet in all our municipal facilities. We had a good discussion about that. It was decided during that meeting, it would be a little bit cleaner if we came up with a monetary lease from them. And they were gonna send me some packages to purchase internet from them, and we may be able to just find a right monetary amount they pay us, we pay them back, and, but it's a little cleaner on the books to do it that way.
Oh, definitely.
The one thing that I did talk them into and that they're working with DPW now, and even before that lease is done, they're gonna drop a line from their equipment to this building to make sure that we have good internet here. So we will continue working on that, but we have been working on it and we've made some headway in that
Can we
area.
talk at all with them about like getting the internet to be stable for downtown offices? Because that's been an ongoing issue.
That's what I talked to them about.
Okay.
Yeah, we went away from Y Valley and we're paying Comcast to have more stable internet. But I've talked to them about it and they said they do work with a bunch of municipalities and they have municipal offerings for internet service. So we're gonna be looking at the packages that we can provide that way and hopefully trading that for lease amounts.
I just, in my big book of ideas is to be able to broadcast some off of the tower into downtown. I think the idea of having a modern, Wi-Fi in the downtown area, because we could cast pretty far. And potentially, I don't think the school is able to get broadband because I think they're far enough from the band. But to do something, you know what I mean? So that we're bettering the entire downtown area and making it more affordable, because that would make those apartments and things a lot more affordable too.
And we'll push.
It's a big idea, but a lot of the nurses, so what I heard during like COVID is nurses go and they sit in the parking lot because they can just barely pick up the library Wi-Fi. And so I don't think it should be open to all necessarily. I think you should have to register through the library, sorry. But I would love to see something a little more progressive.
Yeah. Either way, I wouldn't be opposed to having a decent public network that is filtered and could push down on the parking lot by town hall.
And that because the community building was dead again on Saturday. And Angus kindly reset the router, but he doesn't know this yet, I don't think, but it still didn't work. So something's wrong again with the internet in the community building.
We'll have to double check and make sure the lock is working,
Oh,
because that's all through the
Wi-Fi lock. So I could not pick up, and I went physically into the building, that's where I went. And I ended up casting it from my phone on using 5G. But I couldn't get it even inside the building, even after the router was fixed, so reset.
Well, that's one of the buildings I was looking at too, not for 1 gig. I actually told them probably could do with, 250 megabytes or something there, but. So we'll be looking at providing that, and then the Grafton County Middle Mile project would actually run right in front of the high school.
That would be
if we
good.
get that done, so that'd be a great place we can.
Yeah, because the
direct connect
quotes
to
they
that.
got were outrageous. Anything we can do overall for our community to lock this in would be advantageous.
Absolutely. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask just one question?
Yes.
I wrote it down. Where is it? Oh, so during town meeting, a couple people mentioned 3 positions being made. And I'm like, did I miss some bus? Because I know we made
We made one new position.
One fully new position, okay,
And then we raised the clerk from half-time to full-time.
right,
And
and
the
then we,
recreation director from half-time.
okay, so there were not 3 new positions, there were 2 half-time allotments. I was like, did I miss a boat somewhere?
Mhm.
Thank you,
Same here.
okay.
All right, no communications at this time. So on new business, town meeting recap.
Well done, everyone, thank you.
Astounding,
Yes.
absolutely astounding.
Say Lindsay is on the video, but I just wanted to take a little bit of time to, yeah, to talk back and forth of things that went well, things maybe we can improve for next year. It did go extremely well. I thank Lindsay today for all the work that she put in, but then also, she moderated in a way that kept the meeting moving and she kept it under control as well. So
Yeah.
it was well done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the one improvement we can make is we'll have it inside next year. Come hell or high water, or again, we said that last year, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
We'll
There's
just
no high water permitted.
right, no high water permitted. So try to avoid that that little bit. I do want to just call your attention to one. There might be a potential ask for a recount on Article 8. So I'm gonna give that particular voter the information that they need, which is they do have to apply to the clerk within 7 days. They have to have a list of 10 voters, but then we would have to convene a board of recount, which would include the clerk, myself, the select board, and so that there is a potential out there, and obviously we'll know. They've got 7 days. So I'm going to contact that voter this evening and let them know the information that they need should they wish to do that. So beyond that, not much else. I thought it went really well. I was very appreciative. It was long, but we got a lot of good information, and yeah.
I had one problem, and it's the best problem you can have at town meeting, was parking.
Yeah.
If we're gonna have it in that area with big turnout expected again, we need to figure out parking a little bit better, but.
Right, and we run into that if we're at EVS, which is where we typically have it. Everyone mentions the high school, always to keep in mind that the high school is not in Enfield. Which isn't a huge problem. We have to provide transportation or method of transportation should we want to use the auditorium. But EVS is typically where it's at. And the parking's an issue there. It's not a very large parking lot. So always things to keep consideration of.
I got a really nice offer just this afternoon too, to possibly borrow a van from a local organization. And so I think that the auditorium is worth considering, especially if we were able to do it at little, or, obviously we need to pay to clean it and everything, right? And have the audio visual people be present. They have their own and they're very good.
They actually told me the only thing we would have to pay for is for the janitor to be there that day.
Yeah,
That's all.
Yeah.
Not
so
even the
it's
sound
regular.
person.
Oh, we don't even have to pay for the sound?
That's
person?
what I was told.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it was gonna be very affordable.
Yeah, I think that's those seats are nice.
I told her we can provide transportation from the new public safety facility to the high
Yeah.
school. Just around the corner.
Yeah.
Tim Jennings wrote a nice email of just some thoughts and asked me to pass them on, so I've sent them to Ed and Elisa to pass to you guys. Obviously, we'll catch up on those later, but I had wondered about doing some kind of organized call, like it could be in a Microsoft form for just general feedback, guided. So, it could be like, were you able to find parking, whatever you want to ask, I don't know, but develop some kind of form, and then an open comment, because someone might have a fabulous idea on turnout. And I think because the voters committed to doing town meeting, that we owe it to them to do town meeting up. And I'd like to talk, just thinking about how we advertise, right? We sent out, there was a card sent out this year. I personally paid for advertising that was neutral and that was like, please come to town meeting and I also made text updates. So, and so it drove people in. So when you see an article that has like 270 votes and we had over 300 voters, that is the cycle of people coming in, leaving practices, leaving games. We lost a bunch of people who had to drop kids off to the play. But I think it was still worthwhile because they came and they participated when they could. And making it so that we are open and friendly. And it was, I don't know, it was kind of fun to, I mean, I definitely don't delight in seeing my kid running when I can't control it, but I actually had a good time. And I know I disappeared from the table a few times, but overall, I thought it was nice to see the parents with the kids. And if we want to raise the next generation of informed voters, the best way to do it is through inclusion. And I think the babysitting argument, it just rings so hollow for me. I don't want to hear the babysitting argument ever again. I'm sorry, because I was the one who signed up for babysitting. I think we should say, bring your kids to town meeting, turn them loose, and then we should delight in their deviance. Right.
I get a little pushback on the size of the, town bulletin. You know, the,
Oh, that stuff on the fence?
no,
Oh,
The book.
the book,
oh, yeah.
The town
this
report.
big, the town report, there you
Are
go,
we talking about the physical 8.5 by
Yeah.
11 size versus the little size?
right,
The reason for that is because the little size is so hard to read, that all the things we have to put in there now. The MS7 is shrunk so tiny, you can't read it. So by having it in a larger size, it doesn't have to be shrunk so small. And then you can actually read it. This is a once a year document of the town. And I think that it's worthwhile. I know it's big, but I think it's worthwhile having a really comprehensive report because it's once a year. You're saying this is what our town has done.
So I got a feedback on that, and it was, I collect them and they don't look the same size on my bookshelf.
Well,
And it's a valid concern, right? I mean, if you collect them and you like them, then bravo to you. I probably have a collection as well. But I think the piece of feedback I got was, why can't we send out something smaller that gives you the basics without all the reports, and then have that smaller piece? Like, even if it's a small, like, fold that's sent pre-sort or whatever we have to do, say for a full with all of the, go online here or stop by town office, library, wherever, and pick it up.
so we have in the past, because of various issues that came up, had to send out the warrant, and the budget in a separate little book.
Yeah.
So that is possible. that you could do that.
Those little flyer, like the school district kind of sends out just a quick, and I think, do you send the MS-27 because it's the synopsis type and an excellent, I don't know what the answer is, but I think that's fair, and it might be a good compromise between spending, what, 15, was it 15,000? It was some obscene amount of money to send books that get thrown away versus send nothing at all.
And now, we don't have the staff who can put together the mailing, so it would have to be done professionally.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
We should not be
that-
using valuable staff time.
Well, we
fluff and
actually
stuff.
got it down to 2 days, but we're all getting older and physically we're not able.
You know what, that's what printing houses
2
are
days is
for, and they have, but they have specialized equipment, right? It's
Yeah.
fast for them. They run it through the computer and it goes, and it's done. And they make sure the indicia and the watermark and the size and the orientation are all right, and it's on them, and they have a relationship with the post office they're dropping it at. You know, I have the discussion from time to time with mailing houses, like, should I drive it further away so that it has New Hampshire indicia versus Vermont? And I'm like, just take it to White River, it's faster. Because it comes here faster, right?
So this would
I
be potentially like mailing out like the warrant and the budget and separately, and then allowing people to pick up the larger booklet. I know some people, I feel like, don't know it's on the warrant because they're not getting the books anymore. Which of course it would cost too much to send the books. I heard some of those comments too, and it would be great if you could include the moderator's rules.
yeah, good
I
idea.
like that one.
I was on the moderators listserv. There is a conversation about because they are actually redoing the vote in Croydon. It didn't hold, but they have a new moderator there, and he's going through a lot of the pains of how do I set rules and how do I inform people, and one of the things that came back was like, everybody should have a copy of those rules in their hand so they understand. And I think the couple of snags that we have in the meeting are and some of, a comment from Tim in an email was like, is like not understanding like things that were clearly stated in the rules, but if they don't have that copy in front of them, it's harder to say it's right there, so all comments are directed at the moderator, or, call the question. This is then what happens once the question's called, that kind of stuff. So it's helpful. That to me is like, just those little tiny logistical things that, also help, especially when people don't come and know all the rules very often, and then, think they do, or just, they're emotional, they're doing something in the moment. So that's all the feedback I have. I thought it was a great day. I thought it was a marathon. I thought we got the business done, and I'm glad for that. And I think people got to speak what was in their hearts, which is important, and make their cases, etc. So.
I have one more thing. I don't know. It fits in here, but I don't know how well it does, but, with the 2 bond votes passing, I would like to work with the select board and reactivate an MPAC committee. I don't want to say the MPAC committee, because I would like to have, like the last one, the town manager, a select board representative, and a library representative on it. But I'd like to have 4, if you guys think there should be more, maybe 6, people from the public, but I'd like to do an application process, because I think it's important at this point that we have people with project management, construction, or some sort of large project experience that are on that committee to help us finalize architectural plans and work through the construction.
Last time we didn't have a select board member do it because we got final say. I'm not saying that's appropriate
It
this
was on the
time.
list that there was supposed to be a select board member.
I think we changed it after the fact.
Did
though.
you?
So
Okay.
we
Yeah,
could have another
I
community
believe you are
member.
correct.
Because
yes.
we got so much interest, we kind of gave it up in favor of having the community be more involved.
So we could do that as well?
Yeah,
I'm
I
fine.
think that
either
it
way.
was a good process.
It was.
And I don't know if he'd be willing, but Phil Shipman chaired that board.
It was very good.
It may be worth asking him specifically if he'd like to continue to bridge the two groups together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it is a new skill set, but having someone be like, well, this is, to have all that history of everything that was
Yeah.
talked about. Maybe.
Well, and I was looking at, I know someone that's interested that was on the first one as well, that has construction experience, but I can look at that. It would be nice. I would like to have a couple people that were on
And there were
that.
people who had construction experience. So because we didn't really have like our rubrics, we were trying to figure out so I made myself a personal scoring matrix because and made it into a scatter plot to try to get some variation. I
Mhm.
think one of the criticisms of not the group itself, but the subset was that we included basically no women. I'm not saying that gender needs to be sort of thing, but I think that was a fair question. We did just include some people who are very well qualified because somebody else covered the same skill set and kind of
Yeah.
demographics. But there are people in this town who like HVAC, who are highly qualified, who didn't make that cut, who might be very interesting.
Yeah.
I can share my scatter. I mean, you don't have to use it. I can share the
Yeah,
scatter.
we can
plot
look
with
at that,
you.
and I don't want to put down
Mhm.
really specific qualifications, but I want to put really that we're looking for people that have experience
Mhm.
in the trades or in the construction field or in project management, because this is a little bit different phase now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have people that don't have that experience when you're analyzing buildings and looking at conceptual plans, but when you're moving into detailed plans, it's nice to have the people that have the knowledge.
Definitely. I like that. I had one kind of just general throwing it out there idea, in terms of kind of togetherness and increasing participation and maybe doing something that's uniquely Enfield. I wondered about, and this is kind of off the wall, but singing simple gifts and engaging some of our local musicians. Often it starts with, say, like, you sing like the national anthem or something, right? And I know during COVID we weren't singing, but just having something that's kind of a togetherness piece at the beginning. And simple gifts is, if you read the words, it's like in this valley, the words are very germane to Enfield, even if it wasn't. So I was just throwing that out there as a kind of an opening, and I don't know if it's worth it, but something that was very Enfield. I want to make this if we're gonna do town meeting, it needs to be an event where, like, right? So for some people, something worth going to has to have some interest points. And maybe, I don't know, it's totally different.
Some people you don't want singing.
Yeah.
Hey, it's okay though. I think, what do they say in Elf, right? About Christmas cheer and singing loud for all to hear. I'm fine with it, as long as you do it in the right spirit.
Okay, next up, we have Federal Highway Administration Byways Grant.
So this is a little bit twofold. At the last meeting, I had talked to you about this grant and we were gonna put in a letter of intent and work forward. We're still working on this grant. So I wanted to show you this, and then during that same discussion, John, you had asked about, going through the parking plan on Main Street that we talked about.
Mhm.
So I kind of just combined them together. So this is the grant that we're looking at applying to for the federal highways. And as you turn through there, you can kind of see the trail that's drawn right now on the second page is, I think, a little bit longer than we're actually gonna try to do. But, I went out there with Jim Taylor last week and we're looking somewhere around the Lost Select property, maybe at the very most going about to the Shaker Museum, but somewhere around Lost Select, we were looking at crossing the road and then going down. So this map's not 100%, but it kind of shows you the idea of what we're looking at. Create that additional parking lot along Lakeside Park and then jumping across 4A there and where the green line is, where our sewer line runs now, trying to go straight across the top of our sewer line down.
Great idea. We talked about it years ago and
Yeah.
began some preliminary work and it never went very far.
Well, we're-
And there was interest, but there wasn't funding tied with it, and that
That's
was
true.
probably the biggest concern. It wasn't that it wasn't a nice idea.
Well, this is a really big want.
Sure.
And when we're doing wants and needs, I'm sure this will get pushed back. It's an extremely expensive project. I should have looked, we got it costed, but I think we're looking somewhere in the $750,000 to $1 million to do both of these projects. This is a 80-20 grant, so we'd have to come up with 20% of that. And what I told Jim Taylor is, if we're looking at all this, my hope is that this parking along Main Street would be about our 20%, which is a project we're looking at doing anyway. And if we can put in for this grant and get the trail built for about the same amount that we would be spending to build the parking, then I think we got a win there.
Where exactly would that parking, where would we find the space to do that?
The parking is the next page in your packet. I took the engineered conceptual plans that were in there, and if you look at the bottom of it, it's the next one you have there, John. It's this,
Oh, that one.
yeah.
Gotcha.
If you look at the bottom, you can tell that part's not engineered because I just drew it by hand, but it shows the no parking and then there's parallel parking along the side of Main Street right there.
Mhm.
And a
With
lot
a
of
new
that's-
sidewalk
that's
next
right.
to it, and that's a picture of where I'm talking about, the one that Kate's holding up is the area.
Guys,
Oh, yeah.
the dirt that we always like turn
Yeah.
into a mud hole anyways, and the bad sidewalk.
It'll go quite a ways when we're getting closer to the Frog Pond area before the sidewalk actually crosses the street.
Mhm.
It gets a little narrow with some wetlands, so I don't know if we can fit parking and a sidewalk in there, but we can get some. Depending on this project, we're gonna try to build as much as we can if we go for the grant. If we don't go for the grant, me and Jim were talking about, maybe we start with 8 or 10 parking spaces there and see if they're utilized and how well they work, and then if they're
So
doing well. and we're
there's
filling
room
up.
enough for both the sidewalk and the parking.
Yeah, we think we might have to push it out a little bit more, but the land along this section isn't wetland area. I think it'd be really easy to, and we own it, so we can go
Right.
ahead and move the sidewalk over a little bit. And we just have to stay just outside of that rail trail corridor and work with
Right.
them, but we did get a letter of support from the rail trail to put this in here, the Rail Trail Association. So if we needed just a little bit there for our sidewalk, there's a good possibility. They understand the parking concerns here and they also want to try to improve use of the trail, so.
Who is responsible is Main Street one of the ones where we're responsible for one portion of the year in the
No.
state? So
That's,
all state, the road
that's all
itself,
state,
the
yeah.
road itself is, but then the side of the road is us, no?
Yeah, the sidewalk would be us,
Mhm.
but I do have a letter into DOT trying to get permission. We don't have permission yet.
That was gonna be my next question.
Same with the trail.
Yeah,
It actually, walking with Jim, it looks like the trail would be partially on DOT, maybe partially on Fish and Game.
mhm.
My initial letter back from Fish and Game was, yeah, no, you're not gonna get it. But I think with some more pushing, maybe a little political pressure to show that we already have the right of way for our sewer line, it's already flat, we're not trying to encroach more on your land. I think we could possibly get that.
I would understand if it was a life habitat that was widely used, but there's so much traffic there. They have much better spots up in the fields and in the woods.
Yeah, they're just pretty particular, and I think it's one of those things, if they start letting people on their land here, then people are gonna be asking all across the state, and it gets harder and harder to say no. But I think since we already have that right of way, we already mow it, it's already almost part of the road. I think it'll be easier to do that if we push forward, so I'm willing to put the effort in to put the application in to see what happens, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But the good thing is we're applying to NHDOT. We're not applying to the federal government, and DOT's picking the top few projects to put in as a state perspective. So if they pick ours and then don't give us the right of way. But- So if you
Okay,
guys would like to, if you would like, I'd like to motion to approve the grant before we put in.
I make a motion to authorize the town manager or their designee to apply for the Federal Highway Administration 2022 Byways Grant in an amount not to exceed to be determined.
Oh, I didn't look it up. So I
would
just
like
put
to
$1
be
million.
determined Before Monday night, I'm in big trouble.
Just put $1 million. I think it'll be
Not
less
to
than that.
exceed $1 million. And hereby authorize the town manager or their designees to take such action and execute all documents that may be necessary.
The second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Next is the Mascoma Lake Side Park update.
So that's really all this is an update, just to let you know what's happening. When I came on, we were, getting ready to award the contract for the new wall construction, the retaining wall construction. As you guys know, the pavilion was already been completed.
Mhm.
We did complete all the grant paperwork and got our final closeout paperwork from NBRC for the pavilion, so that's done. We went out to bid and got that done, so we finally awarded the retaining wall project, so that should be getting done this late spring, early summer before the water rises, so they can get to that. So we'll be working on that, and then I've been working with LWCF a little bit, and that's why we put these phases together. The next project was supposed to be the parking lot rebuild. There was some concern with that. Even the Lakeside Committee was starting to, do we want to go with this plan or that plan? I think we should reconfigure it. So through those talks, we sat down and I talked with Liam and Rob and asked them to come up with a plan that they thought would be the right order to put these things in and to work through this. Once they did that, we talked about it and went to the Lakeside Park Committee. We presented these phases, hopefully in this order, but they may move around depending on funding opportunities and different things like that. But so we decided, and they agreed with this phasing approach, that the next phase would be working on design of the paths and walkways throughout the park and figuring that out. And once we do that, then we can use some of the LWCF grants to build that out, get the gardens, get the accessibility to the entire park, and start to build that. We're also working, we've already done a little bit of the features. We've ordered one bike rack, or hopefully to order another one in the future. And then we're gonna be designing, where the portable tables will go, where the best places to put picnics and benches are, and we'll be working through that. We just talked about phase 5, which is the Main Street parking. So we'll be continuing to work on that. And then after that, we'll be looking at the parking lot and how we'll reconfigure that to make sure that we have the right handicap parking and the accessibility to the park that we need. And in a way to make it as pretty as possible, but to maximize parking.
I wonder, because the parking was a really hot topic, and there was quite a bit of discussion when the conceptual went in front of the planning board, and, you know, a certain amount of unhappiness with the low number of spots versus what people were parking now. And I know the idea of putting lines in that you control where people are parking and you should get more spaces, but people in Enfield are really good at cramming themselves in the spots. That being said, so I think that's a particularly important phase. I also wondered about the possibility of, do you pave the handicap space and do gravel for that? I don't know in terms of, because you're looking at putting an impervious surface that potentially might collect garbage right next to the lake, and I get very nervous about how the impervious surfaces are gonna flow, because you don't want it to flow onto the street. It can't flow back towards the rail trail, right, because it's up higher, so just pavement near water is sometimes a challenge.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree with
point.
you there, and I had the same thought. It'll be something that we'll talk with the grant administrators on.
Okay.
You know, the plans that they sent them weren't super detailed, but I do think it showed a paved parking lot, but I do believe that we can work with them
Okay.
to get the handicap and the access from there over paved so that. it's
Because we
very
definitely want it to
accessible.
be ADA accessible.
Yeah. And it has to be.
I mean, a lot of it depends also on the type of asphalt
Yep.
you select.
Yeah.
And the pervious asphalts are really pretty good if they're properly maintained.
Mhm.
If.
Yeah, no.
Then we would
it's
have
an
to
if.
commit to that.
However,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
know that this is what you're committing to and wanna do,
Get us the
and you
total
work
cost
with
of operation.
DPW to say you gotta do this every year or whatever it is,
Yeah.
there are some good pervious asphalts that can, in some cases, drain far better than
Mhm.
gravel because of the way they layer it.
Right, and the way we'd have to install it properly, it can't just be like, congratulations, we threw down rocks and some stuff.
Yeah.
Which is often, I think, when we bid stuff out, we pick a low bid, not looking at the actual quality of the materials and what's being bid, so.
So Dave Buffet has a question.
Dave?
Can you,
Can't hear you yet.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let me turn up the volume a little. Is that better?
Very good.
Okay. The meeting is tomorrow. So I think that delegation to that committee of and reinvestigation of what the priorities are makes a great deal of sense. Obviously, hard pack is not considered pervious either after it's been used for any length of time. And
Go ahead, sorry.
so I'm sure we'll be dealing with that.
I don't believe, though, this is an operations decision at the end of the day that should be done by our operations team. So while the Lakeside Park Committee can have ideas, operations should be deciding on the feasibility, the costing, and who would be doing the work.
Yeah, we'll be working with the committee and.
Yeah.
And analyzing some of the different options. I don't know that we'll be doing that right away. That
Yeah.
is phase 6. So
Yeah.
I think it's more important to put our work into the paths and walkways and stuff right now. And then we'll be working on the parking lot as we move that way.
Mhm.
I also had put in your packet, there's just a list, if you see ideas for park amenities, that's exactly what it is. If an idea comes up, we put it on there. If it's a good idea, bad idea, it doesn't matter. We put it on there and it's just a place to keep track of those ideas as we go through talking with the Lakeside Park Committee and making recommendations on what we'd like to see.
And so this is not something that we haven't always done a great job of, but would be a request from me, is that when we're talking about any amenities, any buildings or anything that requires maintenance, that I don't want to hear it's free, we're getting it, because there's always a total cost of ownership. So I'd like to know what kind of staff hours, you know, a real true forecast in terms of staff hours, future paint, future replacement costs, like, is this supposed to last 10 years and we're gonna replace it? What do we think our future costs are? So we know what we're signing up for. We were never able to get that on any of the park project. We were only able to get this as free, which is unfortunately not true. You know, nothing in life is free, and I don't have a problem with committing funds. I just want to know what we're signing ourselves up for.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Mascoma Lakeside Park to establish the number of members of the Lakeside Park Committee.
And we can either do this tonight or we can have the committee talk about it tomorrow. But there's 9 slots that we have filled on the committee now, but we've never truly established how many people we should have on the committee. The problem that runs into is we canceled our last meeting because we didn't have a quorum, because we have 9 people. So I think it would be right to establish a committee size. That doesn't mean we can't have as many people as wants to show up and participate, but to actually set the number of people that should be on the committee, I think is something we should do. So we can either set it at 9 now and revisit it if we want to revisit in the future, or let the Lakeside.
I'm
Park
in
Committee-
favor of letting Lakeside Park Committee discuss it and give us a recommendation.
To me, they're fundraising largely and generating ideas. So if they felt they needed more, it's fine because the operations falls to the town anyways. I don't think 9 is a bad number. I do think it should be an odd number.
Mhm.
I know there's a chance it won't be, but the goal would be for them to all be present. I was curious, do we know, like, what was the original motion that was made? It was before my time. There must have been a way the committee was created. I can't find
Know
it.
that off.
I know, I tried finding it. I've never been able to find it.
Well, it should be in the, it was established on February 20th of 2018, so there must be something in there. So that's up the top. So we can look at those minutes and
I can find it.
I think that a lot of the people who were on the fundraising committee or in that fundraising group just kind of came over to the committee.
Sure, yeah.
That's my recollection, but I don't have obviously hard facts.
That's a lot of water going.
But I would agree, and I thought about it today, and I do think it'd be good to send it to the committee tomorrow to discuss what
So
we would like.
can we
to have.
agree to do that?
I think that's great.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Board committee membership applications. We have some applications
You
in.
have one.
Tracy Young.
application, Turns out just one, Tracy Young for CIP.
I think he'd be great at that.
I'll make a motion. Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion that we appoint Tracy Young to the Capital Improvement Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now administrative items, we have to vote on tax exemptions. Beginning with Chosen Vale, which is the Shaker Museum.
Can I ask my annual question, which is, did we ever set up rubrics, like, so that a future board would know why and how we've given them in the past? This is like my yearly question. So I know why and how, but do we have it documented somewhere other than in the minutes? Right?
I think we have the minutes.
But to me, because typically the town assessor does not agree with what we do, I think you have his assessment, you have ours. I know we win, quote unquote, right? We choose, but I'm still very nervous about the whole. And I'm assuming, are these little like, these are from,
These are from the assessing office.
okay, so are they from Norm or from, okay. So usually they come in with the same, so I was like, I don't know if they're from Norm or what.
I don't see why looking up the minutes of the previous year, if
No,
there was
it's
a
fine.
question.
I don't have a problem. I just want to make sure that this practice doesn't die with us if something happens. That's just
No,
my kind of,
I'll say my one question reading through all this was, I thought these were from you, actually. So I did not know that they were from the assessor.
they're from the assessor
Yeah.
and we frequently do not agree with the
Right,
assessor.
right.
Which is our prerogative.
Right.
Yeah.
So what might have helped me, just as I read through all of these, was not so much that, but not even like just a straight up table of here's all the properties, like an Excel spreadsheet. But
Mhm.
here's the properties, here's what the recommendation was, here's what the decision was.
Yeah, that would be
you know. and-
direct and pretty simple.
I mean, even if we just put prior year and then.
Yeah, prior year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything needs to be complicated. But something like that would have helped me read through all of these, because while I certainly am familiar with all of them and understand them all,
Yeah.
I don't have the full context of the history. I don't need a full context of the history, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's good to have a snapshot.
That would be good, because, you know, each individual board is different, and a lot of this is opinion. It's not really some rubric with.
And I can say that, sir, in my 14 years, we've been very consistent.
Yeah.
It's not as though it changes from year to year.
Right.
It's, I think we've established some general principles for the board
Mhm.
to at least think about.
Mhm.
And which isn't to say another board might change
Yeah.
that.
What would you say those sort of principles have been for the last 14 years?
Well, for example, Chosen Vale.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They do indeed rent
Mhm.
some aspects
Mhm.
to make money, and all that money goes into the operation and the support
Right,
of a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Same with the
And we're
villages.
very comfortable with that.
yeah,
And so I'll make a motion that we grant Chosen Vale its usual full
Do
exemption.
we wanna just do the full slate?
Oh,
The, the reason I'm saying that is the only one I think that we have a question on usually is living waters. We usually give them an exemption for the building, but not the large parcel or
Yes.
something like that. But I think everybody else,
Dartmouth Sailing Club, I don't think we give them a full, do we?
do they pay a pilot
Not a
or do they?
No, they do not do a pilot. So that's one vision, that's a separate, that one's a little bit different than the other.
Yeah, 75% exempt for Dartmouth.
I would just go through them one at a time.
Okay.
It's gonna take a little time, but it'll be a lot cleaner.
Okay,
All right. Community Lutheran Church,
wait, do you wanna start with?
Do
You start with
Chosen Vale.
Chosen Vale.
Chosen Vale.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Community Lutheran Church,
I'm gonna abstain.
I move that we grant them a full exemption.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Years ago, we, as a select board, tried to reduce Dartmouth's exemption, and we were told by our lawyer that if they took it to court, they'd get a full exemption. So I suggest that we stick with the present, what is it?
25, let's say.
Right. Okay. Do I have a motion on Dartmouth?
I'll make a motion that we grant is it 75%?
75-25.
75-25 split on the exemption to Dartmouth.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Enfield Village Association.
I'll make a motion, we grant the Village Association's exemption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's a
Is
full
that a full?
exemption.
There's this full, yes,
Okay,
yes,
as it's been done in the past.
yeah.
Next is the Historical Society. What property is that now?
That's the schoolhouse, right?
And I think it's
And
also,
the other
the-
schoolhouse.
That's the museum.
Do they own the schoolhouse too?
I think
Or
it might include that as well.
there's,
Somebody knows.
because they are the ones who do the open house for it.
Yeah, so the Lock Haven School Museum and the Enfield Center Schoolhouse.
Yep. I'll make a motion that we grant the Enfield Historical Society a full exemption.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. La Salette?
Humane Society, sorry. Or that's the
Oh,
next one.
Humane Society, my
That's
mistake,
okay.
thank you.
I'm not wearing my glasses, I have to check them off.
I'll
I'll make a motion that we grant the Upper Valley Humane Society a full exemption.
A second.
And just as a point of discussion, in the past, there's been trying to convince us that the housing unit on there is not exempt, but it's usually used for someone who's directly overseeing the shelter, and so we've granted it anyway, because it's part of operations.
Okay, is that what we gave them last year?
I'm pretty sure we did. I think that's the logic, but that's why I wanted it all documented in a nice list.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that, you did give them the house.
Okay,
I'm-
You can always make a motion to do it the same as last year.
I'll make the motion that we do it the same as last year.
Oh, second the new motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. La Salette now.
I make the motion we grant La Salette a full extension.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hey, Living Waters,
These guys. This is a personal dwelling that hosts a
right,
church service, but I think
on Westcott
we don't
Road.
get to question whether they're a church or not. I just don't remember what we usually do.
So you usually, this is one where you denied the excess acreage.
Yes,
I make a motion,
The same
we do
as
the
last
same
year.
thing as last year.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Methodist Church,
I make a motion, we grant a full extension to the Methodist Church.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. St. Helena's,
I make a motion, we grant a full extension to St. Helena.
second,
all in favor?
I
Aye. Union Church,
make a motion, we grant a full extension to the Union Church.
second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Upper Valley Snow Sports, that's Whaleback.
Yes, that's the nonprofit that runs Wellback, yep. I make a motion that we grant a full exception to the Upper Valley Snow Sport.
All in favor? Nope, is there a
I'll
second?
second,
I think the Upper Valley Snow Sports Foundation is technically.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
And Visions for Creative Housing,
I make a motion, we do
Well,
this.
Visions is one that's a little bit different, so technically, we have done the exemption, but they they really qualify under a different RSA. So we did the exemption because it kind of, everything's a wash, but technically, we should enter a pilot and have them assessed a certain amount for taxes for the town, say the town portion of the taxes, then you can abate those taxes.
right, they were in a pilot at one
We
point.
did
Yes,
it, and then we
but then
forgave it, and then we were.
It affects the overlay, and I think that it was kind of a shortcut.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But that's why you have this whole, big long list.
What is the best way currently?
The most correct way
Okay,
is to enter into a pilot and then you can abate the taxes.
okay,
So they ends up being the same thing.
can we
But
do it in one motion?
Yes.
I make a motion that we enter into a pilot agreement to be negotiated by the town manager's office or their designees, and to authorize the town manager's office or the designees to abate the taxes of said pilot. Yes, no. Fair.
I'll
Yeah,
second
let's
it.
do that, and if we need to do it different, we'll come back to it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I need to, I always abstain on this one.
Yes, yes, same as community Lutheran for me, right?
Okay. There's a current use application.
Things to sign.
Well, this is one of those things where I left my whole stack of things to sign at
That's
the
okay.
office. So I have the
I think
current
we're-
use application and the property tax abatement for you to
There's a
sign at
backside.
the office if you would
Okay.
mind stopping by.
There's a backside to the, it's not very often we have a backside.
Oh,
See,
On the other
tricky.
yes. Public comments.
Shirley.
I really don't have any.
Oh, come
I
on.
just, instilled
Okay.
high appetite over the two articles being passed, and, just wanted to, hear how we're beginnings of moving forward on them.
We're pretty excited.
Yes.
I think Ed, your team will meet with the library trustees, I'm assuming. As
Yeah.
part of the,
Well, we can work with them, and like I said, it's part of the impact.
I don't care if it has
Somebody.
it on the back. At least Wayne can say she has it, and we can get a cleaner copy later.
sounds good.
At least then she'll have it and they can get things moving on.
Yes, we will stay in contact with the library
Okay.
trustees and library.
Very exciting. And I think if they're issuing any form of letter to their donors, and we could do something that's within our purview to support them in that. Obviously, we can provide them information, but my understanding is they plan to do further fundraising, so anything we can do to support them in their efforts obviously is beneficial.
Yep.
All roll up on the same ballot sheet.
We will be issuing a letter very soon.
That goes-
Sorry,
It's okay.
that was me.
The whole
I
world
stole
can
your-
hear that.
I know. It's because I stole the letter we signed.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Look at us nail down a long list with 1 hour and 5 minutes. Good job, John.
Good. Well, looking forward to a new year here. Good to see you on board.
Anyone?